Hello and welcome to the Playground podcast brought to you by Playdate app. The Playdate app is an app that helps you build your family social circle, available on both Android and iOS. My name is Shamim Kesabawi and today's guest is the amazing Cecile from Malak, Mama and Baby. Now, Cecile, you're known as many things, the lead parent educator, a midwife, and the baby whisperer. What do you prefer?
I just prefer being called Cecile.
Okay. We'll run with that. Cecile, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here. This is amazing.
Okay, well, let's help all of these new moms and dads, I want to say, because some dads do get involved.
Yes.
I want to start off with something a little bit light to get the conversation going. Now, Cecile's from South Africa. I'm from New Zealand. Awkward.
We've just beaten you twice. Sorry.
You know what? This last time, I don't think it was fair, but congratulations. We're not sore losers at all. I thought the All Blacks did a great job and, see you guys very soon.
We love playing the All Blacks. So let's do it.
Of course you do. No one is as good as us. Of course. It's a bit of a challenge, right?
It's a challenge. It's
good.
Always a challenge.
Always a challenge. Speaking of challenges, I just had my second baby 10 weeks ago. And it's an interesting period. And I want to start off by asking you, in your role, what exactly do you do? Because I feel that companies like Malak, Mama and Baby are known for babysitting or nurses. So what is it that you do overall?
So starting with prenatal education, and actually our prenatal classes are now free of charge.
Oh, there we go, guys. Free.
Yep. And I think they're the best. I have to.
Not biased at all.
No, I'm not biased about them at all. But to me, being a midwife, I want to give every mother all the information she needs to make those right choices for her.
And father. Guys, get involved.
The dad needs to be there as well.
Okay.
Well, he started all this trouble. She didn't do it on her own.
You started it, guys. You started. I always tell my husband this. I always tell him, like, this is you. And he's like, taking care of this baby for 40 years, Shamim, it's your turn.
So the thing is that when you get into that situation in a hospital, actually it's the father who needs to know what he is going to answer to the doctor, to the midwife, because mom is busy contracting, breathing, whatever's going on at that moment for her. He needs to know as much as she does. So he steps forward and he says, we would like this for our birth.
So just to be clear for the audience and everyone listening, dads, you need to be involved. Get involved, right?
Absolutely.
This is not my child. Didn't bring it from my family home. Your child.
It's a team effort. And it's really important that they attend a session. And one of the sessions that I absolutely love is our practical baby care class, because they come and they change diapers on a doll.
Okay, so not real babies.
No, unfortunately, nobody loans me their babies.
Okay.
But if anybody's willing to, I'm happy to have live babies.
Okay.
But dolls do a good job of giving that dad the confidence to be able to change that first diaper, hold that baby. And that's the comment that we get from fathers who've done that session, saying, oh, thank you so much. Now I didn't feel so bad about picking up my baby, changing that diaper. But also knowing what to do when mom is in labor, contracting, because rubbing her back, using rebozo, all these amazing tiny little tools can change the course of her birth.
Okay. So you start at prenatal and then you move on to
postnatal.
Okay.
So what is postnatal? It's such a big subject. Essentially, we focus on helping moms establish good feeding habits, whether that's breastfeeding or bottle feeding. There's no judgment from me or any of our team about how you feed your baby. Most importantly, fed is best. And I know that there's going to be people who criticize that. But if we don't feed our child, that's harmful. If you choose to bottle feed your child, that's your choice and we respect it.
And I really appreciate that, because I feel like there's a lot of judgment around.
Yeah. Like, why are you not breastfeeding? because I chose not to. But it's so good for your baby. Yes, we know that. But what's also good for the baby is to have a healthy mother.
Okay, so let's talk about if you do choose to not breastfeed, what are some of the formula brands that you would recommend? And this is not an ad, guys. It's just personal opinions.
Actually, there's no particular brand.
Okay.
You need to buy a brand that you are going to be able to buy when you go home on holiday. So, for instance, there's no good buying S26 and you live in the UK, because when you get to the UK, you're not going to find S26, but you will find Aptimal.
I'm an Aptimal girl, not an ad. I've been on Aptimal for my first child. We're on number 4 now. It's expensive, but
Yeah. Actually, formula is very expensive. So actually breastfeeding is far cheaper and actually less work. But in saying that, what about, have you got a baby brezza or a clean prep or anything like that to prepare your formula?
What's that like?
So every mother should know about these amazing machines.
Do you know what? It's the one that you push the button and
It's like a little coffee machine.
yeah.
It literally, you prepare it ahead of time and then you push the button and it does all the work for you.
Okay, so it's a machine that I've seen them, and it's funny because when I had my first, I was like, why is there no way to automate this process?
Oh, but there is. So absolutely. So if you are a mum who's chosen to formula feed, I think you should get as much convenience as possible and have it
100%.
done.
So what brand is that machine? What exactly does it do?
There's loads of brands.
Okay. And basically
Tommy Tippy has one.
Okay.
I'm not sure, Baby Brezza, if that belongs to another brand, but that's the one I'm familiar with.
Okay, so you put the formula, you put the water, you push the button, and it just comes out.
Does it all for you.
Boom. Parenting 2023 right there. Technology.
Yeah. So onto things that we were talking about, like different brands of formula. Okay. There is honestly not a good brand. So don't swap formulas out too much.
Okay.
If your child is doing well on a formula, don't listen to that well-meaning friend who says, oh, I would have used, because that worked for their child, might not be working for yours. So
I've seen people experience a lot of colic on one brand and then decide to go into goat milk. Is that a thing, or is this just...
So goat milk and cow's milk are both very, very similar. Goat milk, some parents will say, is a lot lighter than cow's milk, and their child tolerated it a lot better, but there's not a lot of difference between the two.
Okay, so basically they're wasting their money.
Well, not even wasting the money. It's just they may have just as bad experience on goat milk as on cow's milk. But you know, if your child is having a difficult time, you're going to try anything to settle their tummy. The word colic, we always talk about it as a 5-letter word for I do not know. As in, colic is gas. Gas comes from many different things. We have to work out what that gas is. How is the child digesting? What do they need to help with? And when you work that out, colic goes away.
And would you say that the mother's milk and what she eats impacts colic?
If you're a breastfeeding mom,
Yeah.
I will tell you that if you don't eat, it impacts colic more.
What about spicy food and beans and things that could cause gas?
If that's your cultural diet, you eat it. So each one of us actually knows what makes gas in us. So for instance, I can eat broccoli. I don't have a problem with broccoli. Somebody else says, oh no, broccoli is a big gas-making food. And then they don't want to eat it, which is fine. It's absolutely, there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't eat broccoli because it makes gas in me. But why would you not eat it?
Does it go to the baby?
So if mom gets a lot of gas, it can go to the baby.
And cause gas.
Gas. So it's more important that mom eats frequently. So we've actually got a phrase that we use to teach with. We talk about the rule of 3s. 3 main meals, 3 small meals, 3 snacks, 3 liters of water. That's a lot of food for a breastfeeding mom. But she doesn't have to eat it all in a day. She eats it over 24 hours. Because babies feed for 24 hours.
I look like this because I am breastfeeding right now and there's no way I can eat that much. But also I'm so conscious about my weight that I can't. I don't even have an appetite to eat. Is that a thing? Does it happen to a lot of moms?
I think so, because, you know, the society puts a lot of pressure on moms to come back looking good. And when you're asking a mom to eat that much food, you're right. Every mother goes, I'm going to just put on weight. But I'm asking you to eat small portions frequently of healthy foods, not sugars, not pastries. And I think we were chatting earlier on about that, you know, decreasing carbs. Now, we shouldn't decrease carbs. We should eat healthy carbs. So what are you eating as in veggies that are carbs? That will be good carbs that give you the needed ingredients or the nutrition, but not put on weight with it.
Okay.
We actually say that breastfeeding mothers lose 600 calories a day to breastfeeding.
Yeah, but also it's hard to keep up the milk supply, I'm finding, because of life, you know.
Yeah. And it's busy with the second child.
It's like, you know, I talk about the parenthood. There's no hood like the parent. With a second child, it's like we are in, like, I don't know, what's the most dangerous area in the world? We're there. I'm there right now. It's the real hood. So then postpartum, there is obviously, yes, feeding, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's feeding, there is the big one, which is sleep, and then there is obviously mommy's mental health.
Yes.
So do you want to go into sleep or
let's do mental health first?
Okay.
So mental health is something that we're very conscious of in today's world. In fact, not just maternal mental health, father's mental health as well. You know, we've just come out of Movember.
What are they doing? What are they doing?
So, you mean what are the dads doing that we have to be concerned about them?
Well, just kidding. My husband's probably watching this.
So we have to think, first of all, let's talk about the mom. She's gone through major changes. When a baby is born, not just a baby is born, a mother is born, a father is born, a family is born. And there's a lot of things that happen in her life that now can't happen anymore. For instance, she doesn't just have that luxury of saying, I'm going to sleep late. She doesn't have that luxury of saying, I'm going to go and have a pedicure, manicure. I mean, these little pleasures that we take in our lives as women are literally gone. So when we become a mom, we are adapting to this new role, and our bodies have changed. So we're adapting to that kind of consciousness, like we're talking about eating too much and eating enough for breastfeeding, and it's really hard on her. And then, of course, expatriates, really hard on them, because mum might come for 3 weeks and then mum's gone. And you don't know when you're going to see her again. And maybe your husband's mother can come. Not all of us are really that comfortable with them. We're not going to sit maybe and breastfeed in front of them. So we're hiding away, and that's lonely. And if you also have been out here, you might have had friends with children, but you might be new to the parenting world, be the first of your friends to become a parent. And that, again, that adjusting that role, you now don't have those friends support that you would like.
You know, you've just told my life story. Like, it's when I launched Playdate, I launched it for expats because I felt like it was so lonely to be out here and be a parent. And I didn't have kids at the time. But when I did have kids, all my friends are still, they don't have kids, and they still look amazing, and their life is completely different to mine. And I realized that I'm using the app for something completely different now, to find people who are in the same life stage as myself. But it is so lonely, and you're so right. I mean, look at the state of my nails. I don't get to go to the salon anymore like I used to. And that's okay now. I've accepted it. Like, I feel like you have to get to that point where you accept it. But I just want to go into that life change that you've spoken about. So it's changing for us as moms. Tell me about the dads, because you said it's also a change for a dad.
Well, their wives have changed. Their wives don't belong to them anymore. Their wives now belong to, for you, 2 little children as well. So they actually, I know we laugh about it and say your oldest child when we talk about husbands, okay? But he deserves your time. He married you to spend time with you. And suddenly you're having dinner And what is the conversation? The kids. And he's like, what about me? Where am I in this equation? So a lot of times, and it's something that in the classes we talk about because we want moms to be aware of shutting dad out. Moms become super mom. I can do everything. So when it comes to dad needing to help out, you haven't put the nappy on right. You haven't got the right bottle out. You haven't given the right dummy. And the dad's going, oh, okay, who are you? I don't know this person. So he's getting to know a wife that's absent, who's become a mother. And then he's got this crying baby who wakes him at night, but he's expected to go to work and perform, even at a higher level now, because now his salary is supporting more people. So he's under pressure financially, he's under pressure emotionally to support, give of himself, but he's not getting anything back.
Do you think kids put pressure on marriages and potentially can lead to ending a marriage?
Yes.
You've seen it?
Yes. And sadly so.
So, I mean, I've experienced all of these things. It's really hard. It's really hard to think of your husband. I'm not going to lie. And it takes a lot of self-awareness to think, hey, I look bad, or hey, I haven't had a conversation with my husband today. So what advice would you give couples?
So the first thing I think is to make sure that you take time for each other, that you consciously think at the dinner table, we're not going to talk about dirty diapers. We're not going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about each other. And taking time out to have one of our lovely Malak angels come and babysit so that you can have a date night just once a month. Just forget the children, be a couple.
Okay, so then let's move on to something else that will make your marriage and life a better place. Sleep. It's my favorite topic. And at the moment, I'm so sleep deprived. I don't know if you guys can see it. Sleep. I mean, we could talk about this for years, but I have one question to start off with. Is it true that there are babies that just sleep?
I think they're good parents who put the right good habits in place that help their children sleep. And then I think there are tired parents who are trying to do so much to get sleep that they're actually doing too much. And if they often take that step back, do less, sleep does happen.
Okay, so if you were to summarize sleeping 101 in a simple step, 1, 2, 3, what advice or what process would you?
So start early. Start by setting a routine. And don't try to think it in your head, write it down. And then be consistent and persistent with what you choose to do.
So do you believe in the cry out method? Is that what you...
No.
Okay.
So let's talk about cried out. Actually, it's a really good topic. Cried out is when you leave your child, walk away, and don't go back.
A lot of people use it. I haven't.
A lot of people do use it. I don't encourage it. If we're going to use any form of cried out, I call it a modified cried out, a parent-guided cried out, and everybody's got different names for everything. As we know, there's never, ever one name for something. So what I'm talking about is we decide on a time limit. We decide on we're not going to go in for 2 minutes, and then we're going to go in for a minute. But we would not do that before 9 months of age. For small babies, they may be crying, but we do what is called hands-on. We're in the room, we're attending them, we're touching them, we're talking to them, and we never tell a parent they can't pick up. If a child needs to be picked up because they're becoming a little bit distressed, it is better to pick up for a minute and put back down than to let them become so distressed that we end up having to try and calm them down, and it works against the mother. Because if that mother's upset and you're asking her to go back and do it again, she's not going to go back. So we'd rather do more gentle approach where we say, go in, attend your child, pick them up if you need to, but put them back down. And we put a time limit on it.
So what's the earliest that you've managed to put a baby to sleep through the night? Like how young?
a lot of people think sleep through the night means from 7 to 7. Your baby will not sleep without a feed consistently until roughly 9 months. And if they do, that's something they've chosen. It's something they've done without us doing anything. So we always will do a good bedtime routine, the dream feed, which you can either do consistently by waking them, or you can do where you allow them to wake. And those babies that you allow to wake are the ones who will sometimes go to 4, 5 in the morning. And I think a parent then thinks that's sleeping through. And that's okay, that's brilliant. But it's the child doing it, we're not doing anything. So how early can a child sleep through the night? Without feeding, roughly 9 months.
Okay.
So, and I think that's something that we don't set that reality for parents from the beginning. We don't say to parents, expect to be feeding your child once or twice a night. And when they don't understand that, when that doesn't, they get this expectation of sleeping through 12 hours, because there's a book called 12 Hours at 12 Weeks. But it's not always possible.
Okay. Interesting. And then teething comes in and all of that goes out the window. We start again.
Well, yeah, you know, we talk about sleep regressions, and there are even times put to sleep regressions. You've heard of the 4-month sleep regression.
Yeah.
What is the 4-month sleep regression? Essentially, it is a time when your child possibly needs to start solids. We don't like starting solids at 4 months. We like to start it at 6 months. But every now and again, there's a baby that needs that. And on your doctor's advice, that's what you then would do. So they regress at 4 months, but they can regress at 5 or 6 months as well.
So, see, this is an interesting part, and it's actually going to lead me into my next conversation. So, cultural cultural preferences. I mean, you've been in the region for a while. I'm sure you've worked with different nationalities. I'm going to give you an example. In our culture, family is always around when we have a baby, right?
Yes.
But in the Western culture, the parents want 2 to 3 weeks just alone with the baby. How do you meet halfway? I mean, I know a lot of Westerners married to non-Westerners
Yes.
who are struggling with putting boundaries in place. And our boundaries are a good idea. You know, for instance, some cultures, they start feeding at 4 months. You know, this is a thing.
Yes.
So how do you tackle cultural differences between parents, in-laws, and even you as a midwife handling a family?
It's an interesting journey, and it's one that I think I've grown into in Dubai. Because when I first came to Dubai, I'm a South African, I had some set ideas. And of course, my ideas were the right ideas, weren't they? And then I started to learn from other cultures and respect them. There's no one who can tell you more about natural remedies, natural cooking for health than our Indian ladies. Amazing recipes, amazing ideas. And where before I would say, oh, don't do that, I actually am now saying to some of my Western clients, you should think about using that because it's so helpful. So when it comes to cultural differences or cultural ways of doing things, I don't fight culture. Culture's been around for much longer than I have, and I think we should respect it. I think we should embrace it. I think we should take it and use from it what works for that mother. And when you've got mixed marriages, when you've got mothers who married, South African lady married to an Indian man, Indian lady married to a South African man, New Zealand man, I think you need to see your partner's side of their culture. I think you need to respect that and agree beforehand on what we're going to offer. And it might be things that change. For instance, diet. You know, Indians eat a very spicy diet, so do their children. If you gave me spicy food, I'd not be happy at all. But I wouldn't tell that mother to stop eating spicy food. I might ask her to tone it down. So there's no right or wrong way to do anything. We've got to work out what works for that baby. So if you were eating spicy food and your baby was getting bum rashes, I would definitely be asking you to cut the spicy food because that's going to make your child healthier. So you've got to balance it, you've got to respect it, and I think we've got to embrace it.
Wow, time flies when you're having fun. I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by Playdate, the app that helps families build a social circle for their little ones. So, Cecile, my next question is going to be about the concept of night nurses. Now, it is a very popular concept, and I remember I wasn't aware of it. I found out about it. I had a COVID baby, to be fair, maybe that's why, but I did find out about it because once I had a baby, somebody reached out to me. I'm never going to forget this. And she said to me, congratulations, you will need sleep. I want to recommend the concept of night nurses. Please, they will change your life, Shamim. You must try it. I use night nurses to go out with my husband, okay? I don't use them to sleep because I have this weird FOMO that my little one is going to grow up very soon and I'll miss out on these nights alone with her. I mean, with my first, I was up every 2 hours for 2 years. I really struggled. With my second, now we're doing 1 or 2 times a night, which is not bad at all.
Very good, in fact.
She's doing well. Celine, you're a star when you watch this when you're older. But I feel that there's this kind of emotional connection where we only get to spend that time alone together in the middle of the night.
You know, the middle of the night's a magic time, actually. When you're sitting there holding them and they look up at you and those little eyes looking at you with that trust, with that love, it's a magic moment. And we don't want mums to miss out on that. So actually, night nurses don't take that away from a mother. They're there to bring baby to you to feed or call you to come and feed baby if that's your choice. Then there is the other side of that mum who's gone back to work, who needs her sleep, child's a bit older, and she does want that night nurse to feed for her. We actually call our night nurses angels because they do save families. And they do save parents' marriages by allowing that parent to go out with their husband, to give the husband that time. And we know that there's a very big cultural pressure on some mums to say, why are you going out? Why are you being selfish to go out with your husband? We have to try and break that thinking of it's not selfish to give time with your husband as well.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have a night nurse for a full night even. Just that 6 hours, go out for dinner, come back, get a little bit of sleep, and then take back over.
Yeah. And I think there is something that we've adopted in our household is we do what works for us.
Absolutely.
You know, because you'll have friends and family and everybody giving input. And at the end of the day, it is you and your partner in this ship.
Yeah.
You can't let this ship sink like it's scary.
And no one's there at 2 o'clock in the morning when things are falling apart. Mm-hmm. So advice is always well meant. And what I say to parents about advice is take the advice, use from the advice what works for you. It's not about you must do something. The person giving advice is always well-meaning. They're not giving you advice because they want to be nasty. They're saying this worked for us. Try it, might work for you. But if it doesn't, it's your baby, it's your family, you make the choices. And that's also why if you've got parents with you, I'm not sure if your family are here.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to have family here.
And that's lucky, but you talk to your family, not your husband speaking to your family. Because your family will always love you, even if they don't agree with you. But they may not be that happy with your spouse.
Oh, I like that. I like that advice.
So deal with your parents.
We're sorted, but yeah, other people.
Yeah, but deal with your own parents. And that way you keep a happy harmony because you and your husband have made the decision.
Okay, I like that. Now, Cecile, it's funny because I recall the last time I met you and you were speaking at an event, there was one thing that I picked up from you. And at the time, my first was one, she wasn't at school yet, but now that she's at school, I'm actually using it. So how do you get your child to open up and tell you about their day? Tell us about that.
I love the 5 questions because you get your children telling you about their day without realizing they're telling you all their secrets.
Because how is your day doesn't work, does it?
No, because they're like, fine.
Okay.
You know, especially when they become teenagers.
Okay.
So we always use the 5 questions. First of all, what did you do today that was kind to someone? And what did someone do to you today that was kind? And then what did you do that was not so nice? And what happened to you today that was not so nice? And then the big question is, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? Because that's when they tell you what they're going to get up to.
There we go. Amazing. I mean, I can speak to you forever, but we're limited on time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Cecile. Today we spoke about sleep, mental health for mommy and daddy, and stress that having kids puts on your marriage and how you can handle it. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and please help mothers out and make sure you tell them about this episode. Bye.
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 Done.